Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to F1 Broke Boys Tier 3. It's time for round number 9 of the season, and it's the Chinese Grand Prix at the Shanghai International Circuit. Right, heading into this race, we will take a brief look at the driver standings. Tolu still is our championship leader, but after Wardy's win last race, last week at Monza, the gap has shrunk down to just 4 points. So Tolu leads by 4 points over Wardy, and Soul Demon is a further 20 points behind. And then Jesus, he is a full 40 points behind Tolu. So it's shaping up to be a 2-horse, maybe 3-way fight for the championship right now. Unless someone can make a really late title charge, as we only have got 4 races remaining, including this one. Now that's only Abu Dhabi, Belgium and Britain. But if you look at the Constructors' Championship, Alpine have taken over the lead in the championship over Sauber. They are separated by 2 points, and Haas is only 8 points off the championship lead, with Wardy and Kai performing very well in the later stages of this season. And Williams pretty much out of contention at 47 points behind. We start off with qualifying, and first out on track is Soul Demon, who is going to be a favorite for pole position, I can tell you that. Because I spoke to Jumpy Painter earlier today, and he said that Soul Demon was capable of mid-30s in practice. Now, of course, it's always going to be a little bit slower than practice, but I think he's definitely going to be able to set a 130. So, once again, it could be a pole position for Sauber, but barely have they turned it into a race win this season. And last week was no different, with Jumpy Painter starting on pole position, but he was out even before the first corner on lap 1, where he spun off the line, and later on lap 5 he retired at Ascari. But Soul Demon is going to be the first one to start his lap time, going into turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, very, very long sequence of corners. Very late apex as well to turn 1 and 2. Then turn 4 can be quite tricky on acceleration. Down to the kink of turn 5 and down to the hairpin of turn 6 to end sector 1 with a 23.695. Now on the exit we will go to turn 7, which should be flat out. But be careful to not hit the inside curb too much, or your car might end up spinning around. And the same could be said for turn 8. Have to be careful with the inside curve, as Soul Demon drifts a little bit wide now into turns 9 and 10 to pretty much 90 degrees left-handers. That is the end of sector 2 and only a few corners remaining. But this is one of the most tricky acceleration zones on the track as well. Turn 11, 12 and into 13. So really pick your throttle point. Don't go too early. But if you get a bad exit, you will get compromised down the entire straight, which is a very long straight here at Shanghai, one of the longest on the calendar. And down into the braking zone of the final hairpin of turns 14, and a kink on the exit is turn 15, as Critical Skills has now joined to make it 17. Now 1 corner remaining, 90 degree left-hander. Have to be careful with track limits on the outside though, but he stays within them. And the first lap time on the board is going to be a 131.039, so not quite a 130, but a 31.0. What a banker lap already from the Sauber driver. Right behind him, S&M VoIP on mediums, good lap time actually, 0.6 behind the Sauber on the harder set of compound tires, and Sketchy Grip, his teammate, can only manage P3 right now. 2/10 behind his teammate. Tuisteri goes to the front row, Sapphire goes quickest, and might have had a little bit of a slipstream of Jumpy Painter, but a 130.9, already a 130. That's a banker lap, great lap time from the RB driver. Lennon goes into B3 in the Red Bull, and in between the two Red Bulls is Shark in the Aston Martin. And he sets a 131.4. Thank you, Wardy, for the weather forecast. And it's actually quite similar to Tier 1 yesterday, because qualifying is dry entirely, and for the race we got an icon with sun and a rainy cloud. So very interesting, and Welcome, Leo. Good to have you. As always, it's Shelby. I'd love to have you around. Of course, a winner of the Tier 2 race yesterday was very, very strong. He said 130.2 in qualifying, which would have put him on the front row in Tier 1, which is absolutely insane. Love you too, Jamie. Fortunately, not alongside me tonight, but yeah, I wish you were here, but we will manage for sure. Mahmoud, in the meantime, he's gone up to 7th. Didn't have a great race last week at Monza. He got involved in a few incidents. Sly DJ, P9. So I'm waiting for my stream to reload. Ah, there we go. So 12 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. And around half the grid has set lap time yet. And Wardy goes up to P3 with a 31.0, just under a tenth behind Sapphire. Now let's take a look at his teammate Kai. What can he do? Was on pole in Las Vegas. Has been looking quite strong over the last few races. A little bit of a slide out of the final corner. And he's going to have to settle for 131.4 as a bank lap. Not bad at all, but there's certainly time to find. One RB on provisional pole position, the other one down in P16, yet to set a lap time, but Alpha Ball is trying right now. A 24.0, a couple of tenths off what we've seen so far already in Sector 1. But in these first minutes it's all about keeping your car within the white lines and getting a lap time on the board. As we are going to get Kieran in, who has got a qualifying ban. Hopefully he has remembered. So he won't be able to do lap time. He can do an out lap, but he will have to retire. Alpha Ball now makes his way into the final hairpin. Goes a little bit wide, but doesn't lose too much time with it. Now into the final corner. Clipped the inside curve quite nicely there, and across the line he will go. It's only going to be a 132 though. Quite a few tenths off, and obviously not happy with that lap. As Kieran has now joined the session. So Critical Skills and Championship leader Tolu both on a flying lap. And let's see what the Alpine driver can do. He's been losing points to Wardy over the last few races. And he can't afford to lose any more in this championship fight. Last week he was quite unlucky at Monza, where he was in the fight for the race win with Soul Demon on the final lap. But they ended up colliding. And Wardy went through to win it in the final corner of the final lap. Let's take a look at the Alpine. First of all, Critical Skills, who has unfortunately invalidated his flying lap. So he is going to have to try again. He has recharged the battery, so he can do so on his next lap. Still 9 minutes to go. So plenty of time to get a lap time on board. And Tolan now on the final corner. Keeps it in the white lines, and across the line he will go for 131.5. He's a few tenths off his rival. This is going to be good enough for P7 right now. So both Critical Skills and Jesus on a flying lap. We'll keep an eye out on what they can do. And Soul Demon, he's also on a lap and he's up by 1/10 of a second. Through the second part of the lap, should be good enough to go up to P1. If he doesn't lose too much time in the final sector, but that looks quite nice. As he makes his way around the final corner, goes across the line and he goes to go fastest. 30.7. With a big improvement in the final sector. Finds himself 2.5 tenths clear of Sapphire. his teammate. Not improving right now on this lap. I think he just started one, but probably made a little bit of a mistake in Sector 1. S12 in the Red Bull is trying to improve, but he's half a tenth down through the middle sector as S12 goes onto the front row. A few thousandths ahead of Sapphire, and Twisteri goes up to P5 just ahead of his teammate. Lennons has Sapphire behind as well, starts another lap. Two Mercedes drivers now crossing the line. Jesus goes P12 just ahead of his teammate. Critical Skills could only manage P16. Lennon's now up by 2/10 of a second, but just a little bit wide through turn 11. Now making his way down the back straight. Sketchy grip in the Williams, goes to P5. And it's very close between himself, Sly DJ, Twisteri and Lennons, all within a tenth of each other. And the two Haas cars just starting their laps as well. Lennons round the final corner. What can he do? He cross the line. He doesn't improve. Losing time in the final sector. And stays in P8. Now we take a look at the man second in the championship. Through sector 1 he goes, and he's down on his time by 0.003 of a second. And Kai, I think he's on an improvement, because it had lit up purple on the minimap. But couldn't quite catch his sector time split. Now down the second sector, and he's still not improving, but only marginally. He's down by 0.04 of a second. And Kai, once again purple. Is he on a magical lap? We don't know for sure. Shark and the Aston Martin crosses the line, and he goes to P4. Good lap, 31.0. And now it's up to the two Haas drivers. Wardy rounds the final corner. He can only find time in the final sector. But does he manage to do so? He runs wide, and that's an invalidation. And it was an improvement to a 30.9, but it's not going to count. As Kai goes fastest, it was a magical lap time in the end. And a 1:30.6 puts him on provisional pole position. Just under a tenth ahead of Soul Demon. And Sapphire has backed off on his lap. As Tomo goes to P3 on his first outing here in Broke Boys Tier 3. On the second row. As Kieran now has retired from the session. I think Twisteri is on an in lap. He certainly is. So Tolu then finds himself down in P13, our championship leader, and needs to find a quicker lap time. His rival currently in P7, but we know that Wardy can go quicker as well. And could potentially improve to the second row with a good lap time. But what about Tolu? He needs to find a few tenths as well, and he already does in sector 1, 1.5 tenths up on his time. But can he pull that through for the remainder of the lap? Sector 2, quite tricky to navigate through on the exit here of turn 10. Have to be careful with throttle application as Tolu improves by 2.5 tenths now. So he's found another tenth on this lap, and that could potentially get him up to P9. But he will need to find a tenth or two more to get him near his championship rival. Two corners remaining for the Alpine. Just to be tidy on the exit of turn 14. And the final corner currently set in P13, but he improves. Only P9. So Tolu might be in a bit of trouble tonight. Might not be his strongest track. So we've got just under 3 minutes remaining. And that might actually be the final lap for Tolu then. Because I don't think he's got enough time to go back into the pit lane. And he's not got enough fuel either, so Tolu will be lining up P9 at best. Which is the last thing he needed. When you're in a championship fight this close. 2 minutes remaining, and Hushterry is going to be the first one to improve, or try to improve at least. Well, he was, but now it's going to be Soul Demon. Only needs to find a tenth of a second to beat this man, Kai. Soul Demon then is going to start his final flying lap now with 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock. As he makes his way into turn 1, we're right on board with the Kick Sauber driver. Who is still mathematically in contention for the championship. So he needs a big result today. If he wants to stay in the fight. Out of sector 1 is up on his time by 300ths of a second total for title session. So that confirms he will be starting P9 at best. But Soul Demon makes his way through the middle part of the lap, flat out to the left, and then throw your car to the right. But not too much, and he actually missed the apex by quite a bit there. So might have lost a little bit of time with that. And we're about to find out if he has lost time on this lap. No, he hasn't. He's up by 1.5 tenths now through the middle sector. There's a front wing there of one of the McLarens. And that is Ivior Tomo, who's gone off. And he is definitely not going to improve. I'm not sure what happened to him. In fact, the only McLaren on the grid tonight. But will certainly not improve. Soul Demon then down into the final hairpin of turn 14. Throws his car in quite nicely there. And for sure this is going to be Kai's lap. Only 1 quarter remaining where he threw it away at Monza. He doesn't do that in Shanghai. As Soul Demon crosses the line to go fastest with a 1:30.509. Twisteri improves to P7. And then we'll look at Tomo. He's in P3. Sapphire improves with only P4. What about Jumpy Painters down in P14? He needs a good improvement as he crosses the line. It's only P10 for the man who has been on pole position multiple times this season. Alpha Paul only P14. Shark in P6. And Sly DJ goes up to P9. Then we look at Lennons, who has invalidated. He's down in P15. But what about Kai? He's down this time by 200ths of a second and he slides his way into the final hairpin. And that for sure is lap time ruined. And that was a little bit of a lag through that corner, but I think that is not going to be enough for pole position, is it? No, it's not. Kai, unable to improve, stays in P2. Jesus can only manage P15. Then we look at Mahmoudov down in P11 and stays in P11. What can Wardy do? Wardy's invalidated. Wardy is invalidated as well, and he's only P9. So the two championship rivals down in P9 and P13. While Soul Demon is on pole position, critical skills, improves his lap time, but not his position, and stays in P17. But Soul Demon takes pole position around Shanghai at the race where he absolutely needs to perform if he wants to have any shot at the championship. He's currently 24 points behind Tolu in the championship. And 20 behind Wardy. But those two drivers find themselves with P9 and P13. So Sauber on pole position once again. But can he finally convert it into a race win again? They have been so strong in qualifying this season, but never quite been able to convert it into a race win. Well, Soul Demon has won in Bahrain, but Jumpy Painter hasn't won yet this season. He won the unofficial round at Australia. Hasn't won an official race, but Soul Demon is on pole. Ahead of Kai, EVR Tomo, and Sapphire in P4 on the second row. And that's the two Williams in P5 and 6. And, well, quite similar to Tier 1, it is raining at the start of the race. It looks to be intermediate, so it's going to be wet to dry. Which is always an exciting race. And certainly one I'm looking forward to. Sapphire's forgot about the fact that it was going to rain. But it should be drying up, although we don't know when. We're going to take a few minutes before we ready up for round 9 of the season. Tolu started P18 in Monza and finished second and almost won. And today he's going to come from P13. Can he do the same and still find himself in the fight for the race win near the end of the race? And same for Wardy, he was down in P9. Or is it going to be Soul Demon's race at the front? Soul Demon's last win was round 1 in Bahrain with a double podium for Sauber. But after that, it's all basically gone downhill. Haven't won a race since. Have been in pole position quite a few times. So a wet start then to round 9 of the season. Is that going to change things around? Are there some drivers that are more comfortable in the wet compared to others? It's all about adaptability, because it will convert to dry at some point in this race. And those laps will be the trickiest. It's 9:28 local time, which means we're about to get ready for the Chinese Grand Prix. With everyone on the intermediate tire. For 28 laps of racing. Here we go then. The 5 red lights for the Chinese Grand Prix. Soul Demon on the right, Kai on the left. And the lights are out and we're on the way for the Chinese Grand Prix. And Soul Demon immediately cover off the Haas of Kai and takes the lead into turn 1. Evirton with a good start goes around the outside of Kai, losing up more positions then as he finds himself inside the Williams of Sketchy Crib. Kai seems to be having a few connection issues as they're still going wheel to wheel through turn 3 as the Haas drifts out a little bit wide. And he's lost the position to the McLaren. Soul Demon out in front has already got 8 tenths to the McLaren. Kai still remaining in P3, down to P4 as Sapphire finds himself in P4 right behind Sketchy Crib. There's a bit of contact with Shark and Wardy with a great start. He's up to P5 from 9th on the grid, 4 positions gained for the man second in the championship. S12 in P6, Shark in 7th, and the two Red Bulls in 8 and 9. And Tolu is up to P10. He's gained 3 places then. And Jumpy Painter P11, then the two Mercedes. And Kai, he's dropped behind massively, down to P17. Not sure what happened to the driver who started on the front row. But these connection issues certainly aren't helping him at this stage of the race. But Soul Demon out in front, and he's got 1.5 seconds to EVR Tomo, who is under pressure from Sketchy Creep in the Williams. Sketchy Creep with a good start as well. He's up 2 positions from 5th on the grid. As Wardy has had a moment on the exit of turn 13. And he's now dropped behind the Williams of S&M VoIP. Down to P6 he goes. The other Williams of Sketchy Creep going to make the move up the inside in the hairpin. And he's going to get past EVR Thomas. So a great opening lap for Sketchy Crib. Oh, big moment again for the McLaren. Sketchy Crib, P5 to P2. But 2 seconds already behind the kick sauber of Soul Demon, who leads out in front as we start the second lap. Tolu now right behind his rival from P13 to P9. Wardy has fallen behind even more than. He was in P5 on the opening lap. Now down to P8. That's a big moment from Tuish Terry through turns 2. Now has his teammate for company up the inside. Wardy struggling for grip on the outside. Tolu wheel to wheel. Our championship rivals. Tolu will have the outside line for the next corner. Wardy on the inside. Who is going to break the latest? Tolu tries to go the long way around the outsides, but Wardy has the better traction for now. And he is going to stay ahead of Tolu in P8. Jumpy Painter, 2 positions up to P10. Look at Lennon's from P16 to P6. What a start he's had around this track. Incredible. Soul Demon at the front. Leads now by 2.1 seconds to Sketchy Grip, who has already created a little bit of a gap towards EVR Thomas. Around 1 second now. And he's also under pressure from Sapphire. Let's see if the RB is going to be able to find a way past soon. S&M VoIP has got quite a bit of a gap towards Lennon's as well. 2 seconds, but Lennon's breaking free of his teammate. Busteri appears to be struggling a little bit in these early stages. As we see our championship riders going wheel to wheel once again, but Wardy stays ahead. And that is Jumpy Painter side by side with Kieran. And Kieran, who had a qualifying ban, started down in 18th place, is finding himself now in P11. Soul Demon once again with the fastest lap of the race as we go almost 3 wide in the background. Shark, critical skills, and Jesus there. And Shark ahead of critical skills as Tolu has dropped down to P10. Yeah, he's been overtaken by Jumpy Painter. The Sauber driver right behind Wardy now. Alternative lines used by Jumpy Painter. As Kai has been struggling with this lag, and it seems to be that he will be our first retirement of the race. Has decided himself to no longer take part in this race due to the lag. As we see Kieran going up the inside of Wardy. Wardy's dropped behind massively down to P11, behind Jumpy Painter and Tolu, and now behind the Ferrari of Kieran. He had a great opening lap where he was up to P5, but now he finds himself all the way down in P11. So not the start the Haas team would have hoped for. Both drivers outside the top 10. See in the background, see wheel to wheel. Shark and Alpha Wall. Shark has dropped behind. He was currently in P12 a lap ago. Now in P16, but Soul Demon absolutely flying at the front end. He's almost got 4 seconds towards Sketchy Grip. As there is unfortunately Kai had a great qualifying, but has retired from the session. Big respect towards him for choosing to retire from the race to prevent any dangerous situations for the rest of the field. As Tomo is closing the gap towards Sketchy Grip, is down to 0.3 of a second. He was struggling on the opening lap, but he's slowly finding his feet in this race. And he's right behind the Williams into the final sector. Are we potentially going to see a move on the back straight? Sketchy Grip losing the back end through turn 13, a bit of contact between the two. As the Williams really slow out of turn 13. And if the McLaren are going to try and go for the move, they've lost a full second towards Soul Demon. Here comes Tom up the inside of Sketchy Grip and he's going to retake that second place. That was his at the start of this race. Sketchy Grip now down to P3. Sapphire in P4, but the gap is 6 seconds now towards Thomas Soul Demon in a league of his own. 144.9. If we look at Tomo, we're 146.4, 1.5 seconds quicker was Soul Demon on this last lap alone. Though Tomo was getting held up by the Williams, so hopefully for him he can now drive away in this clean air. At the moment still under pressure from Sketchy Grip. Wardy really struggling. He's fallen out of 1 second window to Kieran. And Tolu in P9. At this stage will be extending his lead in the championship, but the race is still very long, 23 laps to go after this one. And you always know that anything can happen. As S12 VoIP also slowly closing the gap towards Sapphire. Bit of a terrain forming behind the McLaren. Down to P5, and that's a gap towards Lennon's in 6th. Jumpy Painter finds himself a P8 ahead of Todo. Alpine closing the gap, but choosing not to fight at this stage. And Jumpy Painter trying to close the gap down to the cars in front of him, who are the two Red Bulls. As we see similar lap times between Soul Demon and Tomo. The gap has stayed around 6 seconds. The last thing Soul Demon needs right now is a safety car. Oh, that's Sly DJ running slightly wide through turn 2 while fighting with Mahmoudev. Just staying in front of R5 wall. And Shark really struggling in these intermediate conditions. He's fallen down to P17, last place, 2 seconds behind the next car. Not sure what's going on to the Aston Martin driver. His teammate set in P12 and Wardy now 3 seconds towards Kieran. Talking about someone struggling in these conditions. Wardy certainly is. You see the backhand trying to step out in all of these corners basically. Both Critical Skills and Jesus have closed the gap. And this is exactly what Soul Demon needs. He's not in front, while Tolu in 9th, Wardy in 11th. He can certainly close that gap in the championship. So we go on to lap 7. Kieran and Tolu fighting it out. And Tolu has been overtaken by the Ferrari as Critical Skills has got past Wardy now. And he's up to P11. And Wardy drops further down the order. But critical skills at the moment on the exit of turn 15. And here comes Jesus up the inside. We almost go 3 wide into turn 1. Can't go well. Jesus trying to go for the double overtake. As we go wheel to wheel on the inside of critical skills. But critical skills will now have the inside for turn 3. As we still go wheel to wheel. The Mercedes now on the outside. But I think critical skills has got it covered, and he has. But Jesus with the better exit. Now on the inside for the next corner. Can he finally pull it off into the braking zone of turn 6? On the inside still fighting it out of wheel to wheel. Critical skills, bit of contact. And finally Jesus has got the job done. Double overtake in the end. Up into P11. Good move there from the Mercedes and the 2-time tier 3 champion. And Wardy, as a result of that, drops down to P13 as Tomo and Sketchy Grip fighting it out once more. Tomo must have had a moment because the gap has grown to almost 8 seconds towards Soul Demon. Sketchy Grip runs slightly wide out of turn 13. Now he's under pressure from Sapphire. Is he going to have a go? Or is Sketchy Grip going to have a go? He is going to have a go on the inside of the McLaren into the hairpin. And Sketchy Grip is going to retake that second place. But the gap towards Soul Demon is now over 8 seconds, who sets the fastest lap of the race once again. Maybe indicating that the rain is getting lighter. As Tomo very close to the back, but can't quite go for the move. But Sketchy Grip runs very wide, and that is the invitation for the McLaren up the inside. As these two continue to fight, which is helping Soul Demon at the front. Gap now 8.5 seconds. Yellow flags are out. And is that Wardy with Mahmudev? It is Wardy who has spun with Mahmudev. Wardy's down to P17. That is huge for this championship fight. He had a great opening few laps, but Wardy now finds himself at the back of the grid. Haas down in P17 and with a DNF. Unbelievable. What has happened to our championship protagonist? Did he make contact with Mahmudev into turn 1? Because the Ferrari driver was off himself as well. And this is really frustrating for Wardy while his rivals are inside the top 10. Now he's going to have to fight his way back up the order, which is not going to be an easy task, because we've seen how much time he was losing compared to the rest in these conditions. As we go wheel to wheel here once again for P2. Sketchy Grip on the inside for the next corner, and EPR Tomo with the moment. He's going to have to stay behind the Williams, but is able to carry much more speed through the final corner. And look at the gap, it's almost 10 seconds towards Soul Demon, who is in a world of his own at this stage. Tomo this time unable to go for the move. As S12 with a slight look on the inside of Sapphire, but had to back out. And as a result of that, Lennons has now closed the gap to half a second. Jumpy Painter down to P7, and Wardy is into the pit lane for a new set of intermediates. It's all going from bad to worse for the Haas team. Haas, who scored the most points out of anyone across all tiers last week, are now both at the bottom of the field in tier 3 at least. Quite literally from hero to zero, as Wardy was our race winner last week. Oh, he's going to need a miracle for that to happen again. Soul Demon now leads by over 10 seconds as he is into the braking zone of the hairpin. Sketchy Grip and Tomo just entering the back straight. That is the gap. As Tolu has got past Twisteri. Twisteri lost some time then, as he was behind his teammate a few moments ago, a few laps ago. Soul Demon once again with the fastest lap, 1:43. And Sketchy Grip is into the pit lane on lap 10. Well, certainly that's not for dry tires, because it's still very much raining. He's not the only one. Twisteri into pit lane as well. His tire wear that high on intermediates. Or is it not going to drive at all? Sketchy Grip onto the fresh set of intermediates. And so is Twisteri. And same for Shark. So tire wear seems to be quite high then, around the Shanghai Circuit. Lennon's up the inside of S12 VoIP. Williams trying to go for the undercut. For the switchback, unable to do so, and Lennon's up to P4. As S12 VoIP all out of shape in these next corners. He's got Jumpy Painter for company, who was going sideways into turn 8 as well. But the icon did say that it was going to dry up at some point. Maybe not now yet, as it is very much still raining. So you might see a two-stopper then, if the tire wear is that high. Or are we going to see some drivers go for the gamble, staying out as long as possible? Soul Demon, he is going to stay out for another lap. He's got over 11 seconds towards Iker Thomas, once again struggling for traction as Tolu. He is on the charge because he's up to P7. He's got past Kieran now. And that is S12 VoIP into the pit lane, who runs way too deep. He's lucky there isn't a gravel trucker there anymore, because otherwise he would have ended up like Lewis Hamilton back in 2007. And joining him into the pit lane is Kieran and Sly DJ. All also onto a new set of intermediates. So the top 9 has stayed out, and so has Shark in P11. Everyone else has pitted for a brand new set of intermediates. On lap 11 of 28. Still more than half of this race remaining. And so far it's been the dominant drive for Soul Demon. Started on pole, has got the fastest lap, and has led every single lap so far. Extending on his lead every single lap as well. As Jumpy Painter trying to find a way past Lennon's. With the backhand stepping out. And third 13. Lennon's going a little bit defensive on the back straight. It's going to have to be a big lunge for Jumpy Painter. But he doesn't, he stays behind for now. As Soul Demon still continuing on until lap 12. And what are these drivers going to do? Are they going to pull into the pit lane? No, they are not. So is it going to be these drivers then, the top 10, who are trying to stay out and stretch it to the dries, as Jumpy Painter once again had a moment out of the final corner. Was all sideways, but has saved the car. Regained control. Now can reclose the gap towards Lennon's. Sketchy Grip now, fastest lap of the race. And that is what new intermediates do. And Twisteri goes 6/10 faster. And Sapphire up the inside of Tomo into turn 5. Bit of contact on the exit. As Tomo struggled for traction. And he is going to stay ahead of Sapphire. He was trying to have a go at the McLaren, but couldn't quite put it off just yet. Now the gap is around 8/10 again. .7. is the gap between Soul Demon and Tomo. Absolutely unbeatable. As we near the halfway point of this race, still continuing on these intermediates, sliding out of the final corner to start lap 13. And Sketchy Crib has got past R5 Wall. R5 Wall still on those intermediates since lap 1. It's a big gamble for these guys, because it is still raining. How long until it's going to dry up? And Jumpy Paint is going to have to go up the inside of Lennon's. Up the inside, bit of contact between the two. We'll have the outside line for the next turn, and there's a bit of contact again. But he has got the job done. Jumpy Painter has got ahead of Lennon's. Was a bit of contact though between the two. In the end, he got it done as Shark has had a moment out of the final corner. I think he's hit the wall, because he's got front wing damage. Left hand side of his front wing completely missing, and almost going off into turn 1 as a result of that. And Shark, who has really been struggling so far in this race. "15 seconds. Soul Demon, if it continues like this, he's going to have a whole pit stop advantage at some point. Is it finally going to be the day of Sour? Because Jumpy Paint, he's on the charge as well. En route to potentially go for a double podium. For the first time since round 1. Lap 14 of 28, halfway point of this race. Soul Demon still going strong on these 13 lap odd intermediates. The two Williams drivers are on the charge on their new intermediates. P9 and P10. Sketchy Grip now right at the back of Mahmoudev. Certainly not going to take long for him to get past the Ferrari. Just look at the grip advantage through turn 1. Fully closing the gap. And now right behind on the exit of turn 3. And look at that, just sailing right by there. And just up into P8. The next car in front of him is Jesus, 5 seconds up the road. Oh, an L5 wall. I think it's just gone off. It's been overtaken by Kieran. Certainly struggling on these tires. And is it drying up? I think it's drying up because it has stopped raining. So in these next few laps, could we see the transition onto the slicks? It's obviously still going to be a little bit too wet on these laps, but it won't be long before we can move on to probably the mediums or hards. As the medium tire wear is not great around here. Nobody has gambled just yet. Whoa, look at that! As an M4 out of the final corner, what an image that was! As he came drifting around. On to lap 15, towards there he picks up a 3-second time penalty, he's the first one to do so. And L5 Wall is going to the pit lane. On lap 15, is it going to be 4 slicks? Well, I'd sure hope so, because it has stopped raining right now, so if he's going to go onto the inters, he's going to lose a lot of time with 2 stops as Sapphire and Jumpy Painter go wheel to wheel, but Sapphire stays ahead now. Jumpy Painter with a better traction though, up the inside, and he's going to get ahead. Up at the P3 he goes. Sapphire almost trying to go for the switchback, but couldn't quite do it as L5 Wall has gone on to the hards. And we are going to keep an eye out on his lap times. Well, certainly right now they are definitely not quicker than the intermediates. It is going to take a few laps. So I think we're going to have to do at least one more lap on intermediates. Unless Alpha Ball is that much quick, but he's still losing quite a few tenths on every single corner. With cold tires as well. But the grip is not there just yet. Soul Demon continues on. Sapphire Lennon's going wheel to wheel. The Red Bull up the inside of Sapphire, who seems to be dropping behind. Now to P5. And he's going to go straight on into the pit lane. He's going to follow his teammate through, who pitted 1 lap ago. But Alpha Boss lost around 4 seconds on this lap alone to Wardy. Jesus coming in as well, and so is Mahmoudov, and I think it's just too early. Mediums will go onto the Mercedes, hards will go onto the RB, and mediums onto the Ferrari. Sketchy grip with a 3-second time penalty, and that is going to cost him in his charge through the field. He's got his teammate for company right behind. Sapphire's gone out, and he is going to realize how little grip the slicks have. Just trying to find any grip, but unable to do so, losing out another second. It seems to be dry, but it certainly isn't. At least the track is still pretty damp. After 2 Williams swapping positions, S12 VoIP up to P6, Sketchy grip down to 7. And Wardy, he's got ahead of Mahmoudov. Just look how quick he's able to drive around the exit with the intermediates. Still too early. And Soul Demon is going to pull to the pit lane regardless. He's got 16 seconds. So he has quite a bit of a margin. But slicks are not quick enough. Tomo into the pit lane, jumping painter into the pit lane, he goes for a double stack, but his teammate runs wide into the pit lane entry. Lennon's, Total, they're all pulling into the pit lane. Whoa, that was S12 nearly into the wall. Oh, the pit entry. That was very close. And Sketchy Grip is continuing on, and Soul Demon has come out of the pit lane just ahead of him. But look how much he is struggling for grip. Twitch Terry and Critical Skills both continuing on. And yellow flags are out. Choppy Painter on the pit exit. Losing control and spinning out into the wall. I don't think he's got front wing damage, but he has lost a lot of time with that. And that is going to give him flashbacks to Monza, where he did the exact same thing at the start of the race. Meanwhile, Soul Demon still in front of Sketchy Grip. So this might be the transition lap when he's going off. Soul Demon has gone off and Sketchy Grip has taken the lead. But the slicks are slowly but surely getting up to speed. Of course, they're still going to be cold, and these are the trickiest laps of all. Tolu has got ahead of Lennon's. They are all struggling for grip. Soul Demon 2 seconds behind. But you know that Sketchy Grip is not his rival right now, because Sketchy Grip will have to pit in the next few laps. And he is going to stay out for at least another lap. He knows that the slicks are not quick enough just now. And Twitch Terry is going to do the same. And so is Critical Skills. They're all staying out on intermediates. Despite it appearing to be a dry track, intermediates still are the faster tire. Little Soul Demon is now gaining time through turns 1 and 2, but it's the exits where he loses the most time. Actually, doesn't lose a lot of action at all. this might be the lap to pull into the pit lane for Slicks. It's 2.5 seconds. But Soul Demon is matching Sketchy Grip right now through sector 1. And he is now gaining time through the middle sector. He's gained half a second. So the Slicks definitely now the faster tire. So you still have to be very careful on throttle. As he's gained 4/10 in sector 2. But this is the corner where he lost the most on last lap. And he is going to lose quite a bit of time again, but the gap has pretty much stayed the same. So it seems that Slicks are currently the fastest tire. And I think that's a sign for Sketchy Grip to pull into the pit lane. As he is not gaining time on Soul Demon anymore. As Tomo has got a penalty and Tomo's into the wall. On the exit of turn 13 has lost it. And the McLaren driver finds the barrier. Front wing damage for good measure and he's down to P13. Gonna have to come into the pit lane to replace that front wing. And he was having such a good result. He was having such a good race. Was on for a good result. But his chances of having a good result are well and truly gone now. Sketchy Grip into the pit lane. He comes out in P4. And that is the difference to those who pitted early and those who waited. I mean, Soul Demon leads, but look who is in second place. Tolu finds himself in second from 13th on the grid. He's done it again. Although at this point he's definitely not in the fight for a race win because Soul Demon is around 18 seconds up the road. But still a remarkable drive so far from the Alpine. While his championship rival Wardy is out of the points in P16. But he should have the pace on dry conditions. DRS has been enabled. And Shark and Alpha Wall fighting it out. And RB has to go off track. As there was a little bit of contact between the two. Shark still on intermediates. And Jumpy Painter, I think he's gone off again. As he spun, coming out of turn 10, he might have, because he's lost a lot of time and down to P9. Whilst being in the fight for the podium a few laps ago. Now he's fighting at the back end of the top 10. Soul Demon, fast lap, 141.9 as we go wheel to wheel with S12 VoIP and Sapphire. Sapphire staying ahead for now. How much quicker is Tolu on mediums? Oh, 1.5 seconds. But there's only 9 laps to go. And 9 times 1.5 is 13.5 seconds, so he needs to find a little bit more on each lap. And eventually the mediums will wear out compared to the hards. So the race win is definitely out of sight for Tolu. But P2 could definitely be his. Which still is an incredible result from where we started. Wardy is back into the points, P15. He is 2 seconds behind R5 Wall. But the problem is the gap after R5 Wall is 10 seconds to critical skills. Shark has finally pitted onto Slicks. He's the last one to do so. Onto the mediums. But he's one outside the points in P17. So, DRS has been enabled. And that is going to allow S12 VoIP to get past his teammate Sketchy Grip on the back straight. DRS will open now. And the two Williams drivers will swap positions. Soul Demon at 39.1. The track is getting better and better. And Slide DJ gets past Jumpy Paint, who falls outside the top 10. And runs into the back of the Mercedes on the braking. no damage done. And Tolu is not able to go faster than Soul Demon on this lap. So Soul Demon doing an incredible job on hards, as now Sly DJ is setting the fastest lap of the race. And Wardy now with a 3-second time penalty, making his day even worse. And Sly DJ, or Jesus, going wheel to wheel with Twist Terry, will have to go the long way around the outside. Can't quite find the traction. He's gonna have to try later on. Two Mercedes in P9 and 10. And Sly DJ certainly has the pace. We've got 7 laps to go when Soul Demon crosses the line to start lap 22. He's been in control of this race so far. Just needs to keep it on track, and he once again sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:38.2. As the Williams drivers swap positions once more, Sketchy Grip back ahead of S12. And now the Mercedes drivers swap position into the braking zone. Tolu goes fastest by a few tenths into the 37s. And Sketchy Grip with 37 dead. Kieran picks up a 3-second time penalty. As Twist Terry goes fastest, 36.4, trying to find a way past Kieran. Can't quite do that, looking at the Ferrari out of shape and spinning around goes Kieran, saves the car, but loses the position. Down to P8. On the exit once again, the Ferrari driver struggling for traction there, losing out both Sly DJ and Jesus as well, a bit of contact between the two. And Kieran down into P10. Trying to fight with Jesus, but he just does not have the traction at all. So both Mercedes up 1 place. And they will get P7 at least as well, because Twist Terry has got a 3-second time penalty. And that is Kieran out of the race, into the wall, and safety cars out. Safety cars been deployed on lap 22 of 28. And this is gonna spice up this race. And Tolu, or Soul Demon, must be extremely frustrated with that. Because he was in control of this race up until this point. And now all the good work has become undone. Because the gap of 17 seconds will shrink all the way down to 0. 6 laps to go. And everyone will dive into the pit lane for a brand new set of softs. But man, this is gonna throw things around as Kieran crashing out after having a few moments becomes our second retirement. S12 VoIP has stayed out, and so has Twist Terry, which is good news for Soul Demon, because he will have a few cars in between himself and Tolu. 3 cars to be precise, as Jesus also continuing on his 7 lap old mediums. Lennon's, Sketchy Grip, Sapphire, Sly DJ, Jumpy Painter all pitting onto this set of mediums. While Soul Demon and Tolu, and now Critical Skills, all go for a brand new set of softs. And so does R5 Wall. So the good news for Soul Demon is that he is going to be quite easily be able to drive away compared to S12 VoIP, to Asterian Jesus. And what Tolu needs to do is to get past those 3 drivers as quickly as possible to have a chance for the race win. He's also got another car in between himself and Lennon's, which is Mahmoudov in P6. So a few drivers definitely unhappy with this safety car. But it is what it is, and they're gonna have to deal with it. Safety car will stay out for at least one more lap. As SM4 pulls into the pit lane quite late, which is gonna drop him behind, well, a lot of places. Probably down to P13 at least. So safety car could come in at the end of this lap, I think, as Alpha Hypol picks up a 3-second time penalty under safety car conditions, which is quite embarrassing. But we'll have to wait for Shark to close the gap. He's around 30 seconds behind EVR Tomo, who's still in this race and has a chance of recovering some points despite having a 3-second time penalty. But safety car will probably go in at the end of this lap then if Shark is able to close that gap, which means that we will have 4 laps of racing. So a mini sprint race till the end. Is Soul Demon going to be able to fend off everyone behind, or will he be under pressure? And he's going to have to deal with someone else trying to steal away his win. As Shark is closing the gap, I think he will be able to get to the back of the field on this lap, although it will be quite close. Otherwise we're going to have to wait just one more lap before the safety car pulls into the pit lane. I think we will have to. Yes, we do. So one more lap behind the safety car, which means we will have 3 laps of racing when it comes in at the end of lap 25. Which is better news for Soul Demon, because a lap less for the cars behind to try and overtake him. Shark is going to pull into the pit lane for another set of softs, probably. Yes, he is to have the freshest softs available underneath his Aston Martin. If Soul Demon gets the fastest lap and wins this race, it will be a grand slam for him. Because if he wins this race, he is surely going to have to. He will have led every single lap, and he started from pole position. He's doing the strategy of staying in 3rd gear, applying full throttle and a little bit of braking to burn fuel, and your tires will stay around the same temperature. Doing everything to maximize his chances of winning the race. Safety car in this lap, and we're gonna have 3 laps of racing. Lap 26, 27 and 28. And Soul Demon will lead the field for those remaining 3 laps. Twisteri and Jesus in 2nd and 3rd on old mediums. And then it's Tolu on a brand new set of softs. Tolu will need to find a way past as soon as possible and stay within the arrest range of Soul Demon to have a go with him on the final lap of this race. Could become quite spicy after what happened last week at Monza. Let's hope it doesn't end in tears once more. But Soul Demon, he's gone. He's got 8 tenths. As we go on to lap 26 of 28 for Green Flag Racing till the end. Soul Demon leads, and he's going to want to have to build a gap of over a second on this lap. So he's going to have to push a little bit. To Twitch Theory and Jesus, who's already under pressure from Tolu, having half a look at the inside of turn 3. But can't quite pull it off just yet. Now on the exit, might go for a switchback. Try and cut underneath the Mercedes. And he does, pull alongside, but will have the outside line for the next turn. But with a better grip, is trying to go the long way around the outside. Bit of contact between the championship rivals of last season. Tolu now on the inside of Jesus. As we go wheel to wheel into turn 7. Jesus on the outside still. Staying wheel to wheel up the inside of turn 8. And Jesus stays ahead of Tolu. What a move from the Mercedes. And Tolu is getting held up more as S12 VoIP has gone off in the Williams. He's down in 16th place. He won't score any points with that and is visibly annoyed with whatever happened. Meanwhile, Soul Demon has built a gap of almost 1.5 seconds towards Twitch Theory, while Tolu is still trying to fight it out with Jesus for P3. And Jesus, with the ERS advantage, stays ahead. Tolu back into the slipstream now, pulls to the inside, and he's going to finally clear the Mercedes to put himself into P3 as Mahmoudev, also possibly having a go at the Ferrari, but that is a cinder and a half of Lennon up the inside, way too deep into the side of the Mercedes. And that's an illegal overtake if I've ever seen one. As that was literally a push to pass from Lennon's on Jesus. He's up to P4 though, and Jesus down to P5. Yellow flags are out, and that is for R5. Whoa, who's gone off at the exit of turn 15. Down to P16 with front wing damage as well. Are we on to the penultimate lap of this race? Soul Demon leads by 1.3 seconds to Twitch Theory. Is doing a good job of staying close. But with that 3-second time penalty, he's going to have, well, really no chance of remaining in second place. Currently he's around 2 seconds ahead of his teammate Lennon's. As we're into the final stages of this race, Tolu is closing the gap slowly towards Twitch Theory. It's 1.1. And almost within DRS range. But he runs a little bit deep into turn 11. So he's not quite within the DRS range. But he also knows that he doesn't need to be in DRS range on this lap, because he knows that Twitch Theory has got that 3-second time penalty. And he probably also knows that Soul Demon is just a little bit too far out of reach. Slide DJ gets past Wardy. Wardy down to 9. And he will be under pressure from Jumpy Painter. As of wheel to wheel we go, Sapphire gets past Mahmoudev. Tolu, just the fastest lap of the race. So that has ruined Soul Demon's Grand Slam, unfortunately. Unless he can pull off a magical lap on this final lap, but Tolu will probably have DRS on the final straight. So not quite going to be a Grand Slam then for Soul Demon, unfortunately. 1.1 is the gap towards Twitch Theory. He needs to try and keep it above 1 second. Yellow flags are out, and that is critical skills. In turn 3, he's gone off. He's hit the wall at a very strange place to hit the wall. Front wing damage. So P15 will get 1 point. 1.4 if you're tired from the race, the final lap. Not sure why, but could have just scored 1 point there. If he just completed that final lap. But Soul Demon, he's got it in the bag. He's got 1.3 seconds. And it's going to be up to Tolu to try and find a way past Twitch Theory on track. In case the Red Bull driver is able to remove his 3-second time penalty, you never know. Big fight in the background as well behind Mahmoudev for P7. And Sapphire is going to have a go at Jesus, but Tolu was unable to do it. And Soul Demon is going to round into the final corner of the final lap of the race. He's led from start to finish with a dominant performance. Soul Demon wins in Shanghai, and what a race As Tolu gets the fastest lap on the final lap. He is going to finish second. Sapphire steals away the point for the fastest lap. Twisteri rounds off the podium by just 300ths of a second to his teammate Lennons in P4. Sapphire will finish in P5. And I think it was Jesus in P6. But man, what a performance from Soul Demon. Absolute domination from the Sauber driver, who gets his first win since Bahrain, to put him well within the championship fight. Even though Tolu finishes in second, he's going to close in a few points, and Tolu will extend his championship lead over Wardy as we take a look at the podium. And that's the end then of the Chinese Grand Prix. And Kick Sauber were finally able to convert a pole position into a race win. Tolu from P13 on the grid to P2. Lennons from P16 to P4. Sapphire, Jesus, Sly DJ Mahmoudev, Jumpy Painter P9, and Wardy in the end does finish in P10. Sketchy Crib in P11. Shark, SNM VoIP, Ivor Tomo, and then Critical Skills in P15. One of 3 retirements, along with Al5 Wall, Kieran, and Kai, so 4 in total. But what a race that was. Sure was entertaining to watch. A classic wet to dry. And provided great entertainment. And that's how you like to see it. But that is the end then of the Chinese Grand Prix. 3 rounds to go. And next week we will go to the Middle East for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. That's it from me tonight though. I'll see you guys next week for round 10 of the season. But for now, good evening and goodbye.